But we know at a lot of clinics, you go in and if you have any symptom, fatigue, brain fog, whatever it is, regardless of your exposure, you get heavy metal tests, you get mold tests, and you get an extensive tick-borne panel. And these are often very expensive too. So between the three of these, it could be $2,000 and the clinic probably charges you $3,000 or $4,000. Next tier is F tier.
And this is where the fun begins.
Yeah, this is fun failing. And we've actually talked about a lot of these before. Heavy metal tests for every individual. And yes, we do have patients with various types of heavy metal poisoning. But, if you go into a clinic, and we don't really ever call ourselves a functional medicine clinic. And again, see our dysfunctional medicine podcast for more info on this. But we know at a lot of clinics, you go in and if you have any symptom, fatigue, brain fog, whatever it is, regardless of your exposure, you get heavy metal tests, you get mold tests, and you get an extensive tick-borne panel. And these are often very expensive too. So between the three of these, it could be $2,000 and the clinic probably charges you $3,000 or $4,000. And there's a high rate of false positives and difficulty interpreting the test. So we don't need to go into the specifics of that, but it is very common to see these tests misinterpreted. So we'll leave it at that for those F tier tests.
Yeah, I suppose we can leave it there. Maybe watch for more dysfunctional medicine content in the future. And another F tier intervention would be therapy when the problem is not psychological, but the problem is physiologic. So a couple of examples here. The first one I'm making up, let's say someone has a thyroiditis. They're in a thyroid storm.
Yep.
Oh, you have anxiety. Go to therapy.
Yep.
How useful is that going to be for that person? Not particularly.
Not useful.
A real example that I've heard from multiple men with erectile dysfunction, is that they go to a urologist. They're young, metabolically healthy. Urologist says, this is all in your head. Go see a therapist. And I think that's a huge disservice to those patients.
Another example that we've talked about before is women with anovulatory cycles or amenorrhea, for example, hypothalamic amenorrhea, mostly a physiologic problem. Yes, obviously, when you're in that situation, I think anybody in a situation where they're concerned for fertility and their bone mass and their health in general is going to have secondary psychological troubles. But to cure that, recommending just therapy does not make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I agree there. And like I said earlier, stress is not going to improve any health condition. More psychological stress is not always better. And therapy, it can be useful. CBT is always the right answer. If you're taking a multiple choice test and you're looking for one answer that is always right, it's CBT.